What if you were already the secret to your competitive advantage in a noisy marketplace? Today I want to talk about the unfair advantage that you already have. The key is understanding it and leveraging it. So grab a cup of tea and let's dive into it. Last year, I read The Unfair Advantage by M.I.L.E. and Hasan, Kubba, and it quickly became one of my favorite books because it really encourages what I think is a unique way of looking at your unique value proposition in the marketplace. And this applies whether you are a professional, whether you are a business owner, or even a content creator. I really think this is a book that you are going to get something out of because it encourages you to take a broader look at where your value might lie. And this includes your conditions, your assets, and your circumstances. The authors believe that there are essentially two schools of thought. The first is meritocracy, which believes that hard work deserves success. And the second is fatalism, which believes that success is all about luck, timing, natural talent, and fate. So it essentially means that your success is going to be predetermined by your circumstances. And the authors propose that the secret lies somewhere in the middle. It's embracing both luck and hard work. I feel like when it comes to the business space or the professional development space, the conversation tends to skew so heavily towards the hard work aspect, whereas we tend to forget about the element of luck that came into play into some of the most well-known success stories of our generations. The Unfair Advantage encourages you to take a look at your own life and see where your unique advantage may lie, and this could be in areas that you may not have actually embraced previously. And they propose what is called their M.I.L.E.S framework, and that includes 5 key dimensions. The M in the M.I.L.E.S framework stands for money, and this applies whether you have money or whether you don't, because if you don't have money, it still means that you are going to be more creative and more resourceful in your circumstances. The I in the M.I.L.E.S framework stands for intelligence and insights, and this is all about using your insider experience to develop your unique unfair advantage. And one of the examples of this is someone like Melanie Perkins, who co-founded Canva. And her experience of establishing Canva was founded on the fact that she was trying to work with students using other programs and found that things that she believed should be more intuitively simple weren't as seamless as they could have been. And that's where she came up with this idea of establishing Canva to be a much easier platform and more accessible to more people. The L in the M.I.L.E.S framework stands for location and luck. You might be lucky enough to be born in the right place at the right time. Bill Gates, for example, is said to have gone to one of the only schools with a state-of-the-art computer at the time. And this obviously had a significant impact on his interest in this space, and it's often something that is left out of his success story. So when it comes to your own location, what is an aspect of your location that you perhaps have not actually thought about leveraging as much as you could? What is your location potentially offering you? And if you weren't lucky enough to be based in the ideal location for whatever industry you want to be in, then how do you create your own luck? Melanie Perkins, for example, is from Australia, where I am, which is a long way away from Silicon Valley. But by traveling to Silicon Valley regularly, she was able to create her own luck in this space. The E in the M.I.L.E.S framework stands for education and expertise. Now, an element of this might be your formal education, but don't forget that this could also apply to your self-directed learning. And finally, the S in the M.I.L.E.S framework stands for status. And this is what these particular authors propose is your personal brand. And essentially, this is established via the other areas of the M.I.L.E.S framework. That is what is going to contribute to your status. So what I want to do in today's episode is talk a little bit further about some of these ideas in the M.I.L.E.S framework, but I also want to give you 8 tips on the ways that you are already unique in the marketplace. So let's dive into my first tip. Tip number 1 is your interdisciplinary thinking. The authors in this particular book propose that creativity is largely about training your mind to connect things you learn in one domain to situations that seem completely unrelated. This is known as intersectional or interdisciplinary thinking. So your knowledge is not just formed in your niche or in your industry, but is actually a result of the unique combinations of your interests. So how are you connecting these things to develop your unfair advantage in a way that other people can't replicate? My tip number 2 is to use your location. So as we've seen, this is an element of the M.I.L.E.S framework, but I really want you to stop and think about the opportunities that your location might have to offer that you haven't leveraged yet. This could be, for example, an idea or a product or a service or a conversation that has really taken off and seen success overseas but hasn't yet emerged in your market. Could you be the one to potentially lead that product, service, or conversation in your local market? Maybe, for example, your local market isn't as big as your ideal markets, but this presents a really great opportunity to test ideas in this space. When it comes to your personal brand, it could actually be something as simple as your unique accent in a marketplace. It could simply be that people aren't used to hearing someone like you in their marketplace or in a particular industry, and this could be what makes you memorable. When I first started making YouTube videos, for example, I was so used to hearing the British and American accents of all of the big YouTubers. So it felt a little bit strange to have my Australian accent on YouTube. But now I've realized that that helps me to be a little bit more unique in the marketplace. My tip number 3 for your unfair advantage is to embrace your leisure time hobbies. Research has shown that having hobbies has been the defining trait of inventors and entrepreneurs. They are more interested in drawing, painting, architecture, and literature, for example. So how can you embrace your hobbies as a part of your personal brand or your unfair advantage? Your potential audience might connect with the fact that you share hobbies that they themselves also participate in, or maybe it is something that they are interested in pursuing further. Maybe they also practice yoga, love to read, or play the piano. I have a whole other episode about becoming high value with hobbies if you want to take a look at that one. Number 4 is to lean into your quirks. Don't underestimate the power of your quirks in connecting you with your people. As marketers love to say, people buy emotionally first and then rationalize with logic. Our primitive brain sometimes can't understand why we are connected to people the way that we are. So by leaning into your quirks, you give your audience an opportunity to connect with you based on your personality or maybe some of your interests. You give them a chance to relate to you on a level that is outside of just the product, service, or expertise that you have to offer. Maybe it's your unique sense of humor, your mannerisms, or maybe you're someone who loves tea as much as I do. Whatever it is, what seemingly insignificant thing about your personal brand could actually form the basis of your unfair advantage. My tip number 5 is to value your name. Do you ever find yourself feeling self-conscious about your name? Maybe it is a little bit more uncommon and you wish that it was something that was a little bit more simple or easier for people to remember. But what if your unique name is what helps to make you memorable? When you dream up a business idea or a brand, it's not very often that you say to yourself, how can I think of the most common name possible? Yes, there is value in creating simplicity when it comes to branding, but essentially you are trying to establish something that is going to stand out and be unique in a noisy marketplace. So if your name already allows you to do that, then why not start to embrace it more as a part of your personal brand and your unfair advantage in helping to make you memorable in the marketplace. Tip number 6 is to embrace your look and feel, because it might actually be what attracts you to your people. Things like your personal style, the colors that you wear or use as a part of your brand, even your choice of fonts are speaking for you. They are communicating what you represent to your people. So start to embrace what your preferences or your defined look and feel is for your personal brand to help to form your unfair advantage in the marketplace. Your physical attributes that you have been lucky enough to be born with or maybe have developed over time could be what makes you memorable in the marketplace. Maybe like me, for example, you have extra long hair that people tend to remember. It could even be your ethnicity that helps you stand out in the marketplace. I, for example, have always been asked questions about my heritage because I've lived in Australia since I was 1 year old, but I was born in Malaysia, and that is where my parents were born, but our family's heritage is Indian. So, in your own environment, is your ethnicity perhaps what helps you to stand out in the marketplace? Does it make you unique? This is an opportunity to embrace that more if it's something that you are potentially feeling a little bit self-conscious about, because it is what could help to make you unique in the marketplace. My tip number 7 is to use your tone of voice. This is a chance for your personal brand's personality to come to life in the marketplace. Again, this might be your unique sense of humor that people are drawn towards, or it might be your calm and composure that people like to be around. It could be your formal style that people find really intriguing and compelling, or they might appreciate your laid back and casual approach. Your tone of voice is always going to be naturally underpinned by your personal brand values, and this is going to help you connect with your people. My tip number 8 is to share your background. If, for example, you highlight things like your education, like in the M.I.L.E.S framework in the Unfair Advantage, then you give others an opportunity to connect with you if they perhaps shared that similar experience or if it is something that they are interested in. Maybe they'll connect with where you went to school, university, or college, and you'll be able to establish a relationship based on those things. Maybe they'll connect with the fact that you didn't have any formal education, because this reflects a path that they also took. Maybe they'll connect with the industry experience that you have had and the different industries or roles that you have been a part of, because it is something that they themselves have experienced or something that they perhaps aspire to. By sharing your background, you give your personal brand an opportunity to help to establish your unfair advantage in the marketplace. Remember that when it comes to your personal brand, there is no one who is just like you. No one that has had your exact experience, who has your expertise, your personality, or your interests. So find a way to understand and leverage your unfair advantage in the noisy marketplace. Thanks so much. Subscribe for more like this, and I'll see you in the next episode.